Hi, I'm Claire. I'm from Legionella Solutions Northeast, and we do risk assessments throughout the Northeast, offer advice, consultancy, anything that the clients want relating to Legionella. It was a 3-day course down in York, and when I arrived there was 10 people on the course, of which I was the only woman, and all the other delegates were facilities managers and duty holders, and there to learn about how to control Legionella within their establishments. And my background was in health and safety overseas, and we'd done quite a lot of Legionella work with hotels abroad, but my background really was on the paperwork side of it. After the initial Legionella Risk Assessment training course for 3 days, I then went on and did the BPEC Water Regulations course with yourselves, with PPL. The BPEC Water Regulations course really is it's an add-on course. It's just a day, and it gives you a really good insight into the plumbing background and what you're going to find when you're out there on the job. Water regulations, backflow protection, anything about that. I found that really useful in my everyday to-day job. Well, once I finished the PPL course and set up on my own business, then I was able to contact Tony a couple of times on the email and asked him for his support, asked him the answers to his questions. It always took him a few days to come back to me, but he always came back to me with a really thorough answer. Again, you know, we always had a good relationship with PPL for that. But once I'd been on the course, it gave me the confidence to look into this a bit further, to see whether I couldn't set up my own business. And then I set up my own business with that knowledge that I'd gained from PPL, with the support from Tony online, and just worked day by day really. One client came, another one came, and then it was word of mouth. And because I'm able to give that personal service, the business has grown and grown since 2015. What happens is I go out to the site and I carry out a risk assessment for the client, come back to my desk, type up the risk assessment and send it off to the client. Now, one of the questions that comes up on there is the person carrying out the Legionella control responsibilities competent, trained and knowledgeable? Do they have any qualifications? Do they have any awareness in Legionella? So most often after the report's gone back to the client will come to me and say, well, we need some training. I can see you've identified that in your report. Where would you suggest to go to? I mean, there's many different training companies online, but I always suggest to go to PPL because that's where I did my training. I think if you're going to do an online course, you can buy an online course for £25, but it's not going to give you the certification, it's not going to give you the experience or the peace of mind to know that your staff are following according to the ACOP L8. I think it's a price battle is something that water hygiene companies will see in the future. But a thing that they probably won't see is lack of demand. There's always demand for Legionella risk assessments because it's the law. And more businesses are becoming aware that it is the law and that they do have to carry one out. So the lack of demand I don't see will be a problem, just maybe the price battle. A Legionella risk assessment has got to cover all of the points that are relevant to the site, and I think as much detail as you go into, the better. Each risk assessment is bespoke to the site, and you can't use a generic one page fits all. Obviously smaller landlords domestic housing, but we're talking really about commercial. And even if there's a page that just says not found on site, the page has to be in there. Yeah, we always get a few extra calls when there's been Legionella in the newspapers or in the media, because it prompts people to think about, oh, is my Legionella risk assessment up to date? But rather than having something in the media, it's a good idea just to keep it up to date anyway. Make a diary note and keep it on a regular review, and it is something we do offer to our regular clients, and I do contact them if I think that their document's going out of date, and offer them that service to review the document for them. When you produce a Legionella risk assessment, you have to put your qualifications at the back of the risk assessment. So if you carry out your training with PPL, you know that it's City and Guilds assured training. So you get a certificate from PPL which you can put at the back of the risk assessment. Without that, the risk assessment really isn't valid. I think that I would always recommend PPL for people's training because of how I was dealt with when I went there. I mean, they were just great explaining everything, and the after service that I had afterwards, the support. I think if you go to PPL for your training, you know that it's City and Guilds assured. It's not just a piece of paper that means nothing. It really is a qualification.